Welcome back to the Dividend Diplomats YouTube channel. You know, you've got Bert, the Herd, and Lanny over here, guys, representing the DD, pursuing financial freedom plus frugal living. We are getting to that freedom landmark by dividend investing, and we're talking about ETFs here that pay quarterly dividends. You know, if you caught Sunday's video, Bert ran through the rebalancing of SCHD, a Charles Schwab or a Chuck Schwab ETF. But today's video is going to be focused here on SIX Vanguard ETFs, and we're going to take a look at Q1 2023 dividends versus Q1 2022 dividends from the Vanguard ETFs.
Before we do though, subscribe to the channel, give the video a nice thumbs up. It's all about reaching financial freedom, as you said, Lanny, and that's why we buy dividend stocks and dividend-focused ETFs. You buy great companies, they increase their passive income, they increase their dividend income, they grow your income. That's what it's all about. It's March. It's the end of March. That's why this is exciting. This is the time where the funds start announcing those Q1 dividends. So it's always fun to compare Q1 this year to Q1 last year to see how much those dividends have grown in a year's time.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely an exciting time for dividend investors that own ETFs and mutual funds and even individual stocks, because I would say a majority of individual companies like to pay on those quarter ends on the calendar year basis. But yeah, I mean, guys, you can definitely get to financial freedom by buying ETFs. Bert and I have covered that deeply, intently. I buy Vanguard ETFs every single day, with VOO and VIG, and I buy VYM every single week. Bert's debating on buying SCHD, right?
Yeah, and that's what we talked about in the last video. It's just, why not get your money to work in an automated fashion? That doesn't mean we don't buy individual stocks. That's not it at all. We're still buying a bunch of individual stocks. You see one of our videos from last week. In fact, we still are adding a lot to our individual portfolios too, but it's nice to have the automated, and it's nice to see, especially after that SCHD rebalancing, it reminds you of the power of having fund managers overwatching your funds too. They're also the shepherds for the funds within Vanguard, within Schwab, taking care of it and making sure their portfolios are performing. So that's the benefit of the ETFs too.
Yeah. And, again, we try, appreciation's one thing. I know everybody's like, well, total return this, total return that. We're trying to live off the cash flow from the ETFs. Again, appreciation is the cherry or the icing on top, but we're trying to get cash dumping into our account without touching the number of shares we own, right, Bert?
Yeah, it's a balance. And if you're focused on just appreciation only, and you just want the short-term pop, the growth, you want those quick day trades or the very short-term pops, sell it and then move on, this may not be the right video for you, because we're going to be talking about how your income's growing and how that steady income stream is growing.
Yeah. So we're going to take a hit at 6 ETFs provided by Vanguard. Again, we're not going to go into too much detail, but we are going to compare. Did your income grow? Did your passive income grow by owning one or some of these 6 ETFs from Vanguard? Vanguard obviously has some of the lowest expense ratio ETFs out there on the market. You got to love Jack Bogle. Some call him one of the goats of the investing world. But we got some great ETFs here to talk about. Bro, what are the 6 ETFs that we're here to talk?
All right, we're going to run through the tickers here. VYM, VOO, VGK, VIG, VTI, and VNQ. And we'll talk about each one of them. We'll say kind of what the focus of the fund is once we go into the specific details.
Sweet. All right, man. Bert, you want to kick it off with the first one?
I would kick this one off, Lanny, but that wouldn't be appropriate. You've got to talk to us about VYM, not me, Lanny. This one, it wouldn't do any of this justice if I was the one that told everyone about the VYM dividend increase. All
right. I'll take the first one, guys. Vanguard's high dividend yield ETF, VYM. Yes, you've probably heard it 1,000 times now on this channel. You'll hear it 1,000 more times. So get your beer, get your coffee, get your water. They announced a 71.72 cent quarterly dividend, which was higher than their 66.22 cent dividend last year during this quarter. So they actually grew their dividend by 8.31%, which is above the rate of inflation. It's just barely over half of what SCHD did. So kudos to the SCHD shareholders. But VYM's been as consistent. I expected somewhere actually in the 5 to 8%. So this is actually a little higher than what I was anticipating, just with everything going on. But yeah, so 8.31% increase on the Q1 dividend. So definitely boosted up that passive income stream since between my wife and I, we own over probably almost 1,000 shares of VYM.
Yeah, and just remember too with VYM, the one thing to keep a note of is we've seen a lot of dividend increases in the first quarter, kind of before all this was happening with the banks. Companies were increasing their dividend. You were seeing a lot of them that were going back to strong dividend growth in the sectors where it was allowing it. So it's of course makes sense that VYM is able to give a nice 8% pop to its shareholders.
And I like the pop. But what about the pop from Vanguard's S&P 500?
All right, VOO, the S&P 500 fund, Q1 2022 dividend was $1.3737. I love when they just put a ton of cents out there. Q1 2023 was $1.4874. So a nice 8.28% increase for VOO. Very nice, very nice.
Real solid. In the words of Brett Favre, just real comfortable jeans.
Jeez. Yeah. We might not be getting too many Brett Favre interviews going forward. So you might as well enjoy the quotes while you can. Let's move across the pond there to VGK. Let's see what the European focused fund here for VGK is. Lanny, you want to take this one away?
Sure, certainly. Now this one's always all over the place. So I'm not going to get too involved with the growth from quarter one because it just may be lower the next quarter. It's again all over the place. But they announced a 21.25 cent per share per quarter dividend. And that was actually higher by 53% from last year's first quarter dividend, which was 13.88 cents. Great growth. Will we continue to see that? Probably not. But I guess we'll have to see what Q2 really brings. But I will take it. I'll take it.
Of course.
It is all over the place.
Like Vanguard, take my dividends back. I don't want them. I don't want that hyper growth rate. But all right, so let me take this one over. Let's move over back to the United States. We'll go to VIG, the Dividend Appreciation Fund. This growth rate is Q1 2022 was 69.39 cents. Q1 2023 was 74.89 cents. That's a 7.93% increase. So interesting. VYM, VIG have all had very similar dividend growth rates there. Your trifecta is looking pretty solid here, Lanny.
Well, what actually is almost in reverse of what happened here? Well, VYM's growth rate was expected to be higher than VOO's, but VIG's I thought was going to trump both of them. And again, not by a lot, but about 35 to 40 basis points lower than VOO and VYM. But yeah, again, almost 8%. That's solid.
I think VIG needs to start appreciating its dividend growth a little bit more. All right. Yeah. Why don't you tell us about VTI, Lanny? Let's move into the fifth one here.
All right. Yeah, we'll go to the total stock market, not just the S&P, but the thousands of companies that trade publicly. I know a lot of investors, VTI or VOO, VOO or VTI, BIG.
Tomato.
Yeah. But VTI, the total market ETF, actually announced the 78.62 cent per share per quarter dividend. That's against its 70.82 cent per share per quarter dividend. So it's actually up about 7.8 cents or 11%.
Ooh, interesting. So yeah. Interesting. So let's round this out here. Let's move into the REIT sector. Because this one seems appropriate for me to take. I've been talking a lot about REITs and possibly growing my allocation. Everyone points to VNQ. Instead of messing around with individual REITs, why not look at VNQ and just get the broader market diversification? Their Q1 2022 was 57.67 cents. Q1 2023 was 77 cents. Sheesh. A 33% dividend growth rate for VNQ. Wow.
And last quarter's also had a little bit of return on capital included in Q1. This year was a straight dividend alone.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. So interesting. It's always fun to look up VNQ's yield, though. I'm pulling it up right now to get the live reading here because the hard part with REITs is you typically expect a higher yield. And that's been the one knock against VNQ. After this increase, their yield is 3.76%. So pretty solid. That's not bad for the REITs right now.
Is that higher than AMT's?
It is. AMT is about 3.2%. Lower than some of the other REITs like Vici. It's much lower than. So and some of the.
How are you taxed on the dividend from VNQ versus AMT.
Interesting. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Do you?
I think because it's a dividend from a, I don't think the ETF is not considered a REIT. So I would assume you're
Yeah.
taxed better.
You know what? If somebody knows the answer to that, put that in the comment section. We'd love to learn a little bit more about that because that is a potential differentiator. When I buy my REITs, I put them in the Roth. This isn't a REIT video, so we're not going much into this. Let us know in the comments if you have the answer to that. All right, so let's summarize then here. Let's go through this before we get too far into the REIT hole. Lanny, you want to talk the first three and then I'll rip the last three?
Guys, VYM, VOO, VGK, we had 8.31% increase from VYM, 8.28% from VOO, 53.1% from VGK. What about the last three?
VIG 7.93%, VTI 11%, VNQ 33%. Man, this is great, everybody. I mean, honestly, this is such a fun video to record because it just shows you that income is growing. And that's the key piece of it. We all want to reach financial freedom. We all want to see our passive income just continue to grow. And these 6 funds did it without you having to lift a finger. That's the beauty of this. Your income grew if you own this.
And Bert, how many of these do you own?
VYM, VOO, 2. I know you own, was it 4? No, 5. Or you own VTI.
If you count bumped, I think VTI is in there.
We're not counting the forward bump. So you own 4 of these.
Yeah, I own 4.
You own the big 4. That's great though, Lanny. I mean, seriously, this is awesome. Income's growing without lifting. I can't say that enough. And everyone, if you have not already, you better subscribe to this channel. Give this a thumbs up. Let us know how many of these you've owned and how many of your funds in Vanguard, outside of Vanguard, increase their dividends and what the % increases were.
Guys, we appreciate the love and support. You're either with us or you're against us. That was Bert the Hurt and Lanny from the DD over.